Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, My Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is True Love Tuesday. I love telling you guys a love story every single week. I really hope you guys enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoy telling it. Today we have a really beautiful love story. This is kind of like a modern day, it's like a real life Victorian romance, right? It's like a historical romance come to life. So beautiful. Really gonna enjoy this week's story. At least I hope. We're gonna be doing this eye look as we tell the story. I think the eye look turned out so pretty today too. I wanted to play with pink and green and just kind of like, I don't know. I just went where the palette took me today, and this is where we landed. I think it's very pretty. I am very, very happy with it. My hair is a complete and total mess today. I didn't straighten it, so it's probably all crinkled and gross. Trying to give it a little bit of a break because if you guys have not been here before, you guys probably won't know, but my hair is actually super big and super curly and pretty much a white girl afro 99% of the time. So I've been straightening it this week, but you can like tell that it's starting to get just a little bit tired of all the heat. So I tried to give it a little bit of a break today and stick it up in a ponytail, but I just never quite like how the ponytail looks. So we'll just keep it down and we'll just kind of like disguise the crinkles with, behind the ears. I think that looks a little bit better. So this eye look is so pretty. We're using the Morphe X Jeffree Starr palette to do this eye look. I have got to say this is probably the best formula in any Morphe palette I have ever used. The formula in this palette really is absolute perfection. So pigmented, so easy to use. The mattes are phenomenal. The shimmers are reflective and glittery. They're just super pretty. I think the color story is so pretty. Lots of pinks and greens. You've got lots of nice neutral matte shades for transitions. There is, it's not available anymore. I know you can still get this palette off of Amazon, which is where I got it. But if you ever come across this palette and are like, oh, that's a pretty palette, I want to get that, don't hesitate. It really is such a beautiful palette. The best Morphe formula I have ever tried. These shimmers are they're just so stinking pretty. They're just absolutely yummy. I love them so much. This is my very favorite Morphe palette. Now, if you are not a fan of Jeffree Starr, that is okay. Not the biggest fan of him personally either, but that man knows how to make some makeup. I swear to heaven, he knows how to make makeup. He just released this wedding collection that I want so incredibly badly. I can't bring myself to pay the $52 for it. It's like $52 or $58. It's over $50 and I just don't have the money for it right now. But Lord have mercy if I did. If a $100 bill just like landed and flew from the sky and landed into my lap, that would be the first thing I went and bought with it, would be that wedding collection, because I think it's so beautiful. But this is really pretty too. Definitely didn't cost me $50. But we're going to play with this bad boy today. I am also still getting over COVID, so if my voice is just a little bit nasally or a little bit just kind of scratchy, I am sorry. I do have a big old glass of sweet tea sitting right here next to me in order to keep my whistle just a little bit moistened, just so I'm not sitting here screeching at you guys. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into the story. Today we're talking about Elizabeth Barrett and Robert Browning. Now, like I said, this is one of those Victorian love stories. come to life. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. We're gonna start at the beginning and work our way all the way off to the end. Shouldn't be too awful long of a video, but I do suggest y'all go get you a big old glass of sweet tea or a cup of hot coffee, get you a snack maybe, get your makeup together, and let's just sit back and play for a little bit and listen to a good story. I already have my eyeshadow primer on. I probably won't be talking too awful much about what I'm using in today's video, but I will have everything that I used in today's video in the description box below, along with the tags to my other social medias. I always post finished pictures over on both Facebook and Instagram, so if you guys are not following me on my other socials, definitely make sure you go and do that. I post fun content every single day, so if you're following me everywhere, you don't have to worry about missing a single second of it. So the tale of their courtship, like I said, is a real life romance novel come to life. We're going to talk about love letters. We're going to talk about elopement. We're going to talk about an Italian getaway, and they kind of ran off to Italy and had the adventure of a lifetime. It has all of the makings of a fantastic, fantastic story, all rolled into one real life, true love story. I love it so, so much. So Elizabeth was born in 1906. She was born in 1906 to a very happy childhood. She had a very well-rounded, very well-adjusted childhood. Loving parents. They weren't poor or anything like that. She just had a really great kind of all-American kind of childhood. She grew up in Worcestershire. But at 15, she did develop a serious illness, and this would go on to pretty much plague her for the rest of her life. They believe that the illness was caused by a spinal injury, and because of that, it never really healed correctly. So she was plagued by, she was pretty frail for the rest of her life after that. It didn't stop her. It didn't stop her from doing anything, but she did have to fight. She had to fight to stay healthy. Yes, she's like best known for her love poems and sonnets of the Portuguese, or sonnets from the Portuguese. I'm not exactly sure I'm saying that word right, but that is what she is most known for. It's what I most know her for. I absolutely adore her poems. I'm going to read you guys one a little bit later on in the story, and let me know in the comments below if you've heard it before. It's one of my absolute favorites. So, Robert, he was born in 1812. Yeah, he was born in 1812, so he was just a little bit younger than she was. Yeah, he was a little bit younger than she was. He was born in London. He went to the University of London. He went for 1 semester and pretty much dropped out. The thing about Robert is, I think before he got with Elizabeth, he was a little bit of a slacker. And I don't say slacker as in just like a no good. I say slacker. He was still living at home with his parents in his mid-30s. A lot of his earlier works were published with help from his mother and his father. His mom and dad really helped him to launch his career. And I don't know really what life was like back then, so I'm not sure if that was normal for the time or not, but I did think it was just a little bit odd that he was still living at home with his parents in his 30s. He never really finished much of anything. He didn't finish school. Like I said, he went to the University of London, but he only went for 1 semester. Most of his plays were written in this early period of his life, though. So a lot of his best work was done while he was still living with his parents, while he was still, I think, pretty much trying to find himself, trying to find his place in the world. And they say that pain is the is the great equalizer, right? Pain is the great inspiration. So I truly believe that most artists, they do their best work when they're at their most unhappy. And I believe he was unhappy. I believe he was desperately searching for something. And during this period, all of that desperate searching and all of that confusion lent itself to some of his most inspiring and most well-respected works. He is best known for his dramatic monologues. Now, a dramatic monologue is basically a big long, it's like a big long speech, right? A monologue is when a character kind of drones on for a long period of time, but he was just really good at character development. He was really good at developing these very well-rounded, very real characters. It was like the character kind of jumped off the page and became something real. He was just really good at developing these personalities and developing these characters. And like I said, most of his earlier works were published with help from his parents. Now, fast forward a little bit, and Elizabeth is kind of getting her start. She has just published a book of her works, and in this book of works, she actually talks about Robert, and I just think this eye look is so pretty. She talks about Robert. She just released her second collection of poems. It was published and well received. Like I said, it included lines about Robert. And after reading them, Robert actually sent her a letter to thank her. Thank you for mentioning me in your work. I appreciate you. I know who you are. I think that was really, really sweet. And on January 10th, 1845, he actually wrote her another letter, and in this letter, he said, "I love your verses with all my heart, and I love you too." And this was the beginning. This was the beginning of their friendship, and their friendship eventually turned into a relationship. But after this letter, they continued to write each other back and forth for a good while. I want to make sure guys know I have my notes sitting over here so I don't lie to you. They wrote to each other for a while until meeting in the summer of 1845. And upon meeting each other, they just got even closer. They realized that, boy, there might be something here. So they just kind of like fostered that and continued to write to each other and grow even closer and closer. Beth said they were growing to be the truest of friends. Now, when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to a lasting relationship, right, I really feel like it helps when you actually like the person you're in a relationship with. And what better way to like that person than to be their friend first, right? And I feel like that is why their relationship lasted the way that it did, just because they truly did enjoy each other. And not only did they enjoy each other, but they respected each other, both as people and as artists and as poets, writers. There was a certain kind of kinship there, because they were both creatives, that I think drew them even tighter and even closer together. She had said on many occasions that what she admired most about Robert, like I said, he was still living at home with his parents and things like that. But I don't know that it was because that's what he wanted to do, or he was just searching, right? Because she talks about his character, and when she talks about his character, she has so many glowing things to say about him. She says what she loved most about him was his fortitude, right? She said he had incredible fortitude and unshakable, unbreakable integrity, both artistically and just in everyday life. And he also had courage in adversity. Now, what this meant to me was that he was very willing to go after what he believed in. And I can 100% understand why that would draw her to him. He seems like a very intellectual man as well. He just seems like, kind of like how girls fall in love with their college professors. He just had that intense moral compass, that intense integrity that women just find so attractive. She was instantly and, totally just drawn to him in every way. They courted for about 20 months, and during this time, they continued to write back and forth to each other. And over the course of their 20-month courtship, they wrote over 575 letters, which blew my mind. Could you imagine? So 20 months, that's almost, 2 years? Yeah, that's almost 2 years. So they dated for almost 2 years. And in those 2 years, they wrote back and forth 575 letters. That is so many letters. They might be giving Napoleon and Josephine a run for their money, quite honestly. So after all these letters and after 20 months of, dating and corresponding, they end up getting married. Yeah, okay. Brain fart for a second. So, before they get married, we have to talk about Elizabeth's father for just a second. And the reason we have to talk about him was because though he was not a bad parent and he was not a bad father, he was intensely overbearing and overprotective. And I did kind of look into this, and I don't know if it was because he enjoyed the money that she made from her works, her writing, because again, this is in the 1800s, and everything, while she's still living at home with her father, everything that is hers belongs to him. So I think that kind of had a little bit to do with it, but I also think that he just wasn't willing to give up his daughter. He wasn't willing to give up his baby girl, I think, because he was incredibly overbearing and incredibly overprotective of Elizabeth. He didn't let her date. He didn't approve of John, and quite frankly didn't approve of anyone that she had ever felt any kind of interest in. So they had to keep their relationship a secret from her father, and you can imagine that would be super difficult to do, especially when you've been together for 2 years, and at this point it's time to start getting a little bit serious and start thinking about marriage and things like that. So it was really difficult to have to keep all of this a secret from her father. And then on top of that, Robert's parents were not big fans of Elizabeth's either. And the reason being is they, like I said, Elizabeth had health problems. She was a pretty frail young woman. And they didn't believe that she was healthy enough they didn't believe she was a good match for Robert. They didn't believe that she was going to be healthy enough, first of all, to give them grandchildren, and second of all, to be healthy enough to take care of him, right? I so cannot breathe. Anyway, they didn't think she was healthy enough to take care of him, let alone give them grandchildren. And at this point, sons are very, very special, and I know when my son goes out and finally finds a female, I know that I'm going to want her to be able to take care of him and, be strong enough and healthy enough to take care of him, and not the other way around, and him have to take care of her. Right? So it's only natural. But the biggest problem, the biggest hurdle they had to face was her father. So Beth's doctors recommended, because again, she's sick, her health is not great. So Beth's doctors recommend that she move to Italy. They said the fresh air and the altitude and taking the waters in Italy would help with her condition, her constitution, so much. So she brings this information back Elizabeth brings this information back to her father. She tells Robert, she tells her father, my doctors want me to move to Italy. I don't want to be sick all the time. I want to feel better. I think I need to move to Italy. Well, instantly her father says no. And again, I think this is partially due to the fact that he just doesn't want to let go. I think he doesn't want to give her control of her own purse and basically let her be her own person. And I don't think that it has to do with love so much, because if it was going to make her feel better, if it would help her constitution and better her health, what loving parent wouldn't say go, be healthy, live a happy, long life, right? Her father lost his mind. He said, no, you're not going. I forbid it. You're going to stay here. You're going to stay sick. You're going to continue to write. And that is the end of it. Well, Robert says, we're not having this, right? So they concoct a plan. Robert and Elizabeth, they sit down. They say, okay, well, we know what we have to do. What do we have to do in order to achieve it? So they get together and they say, you know what? We can't go anywhere. We can't go anywhere together. It would be inappropriate if we weren't married. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get married. So that's what they did. They get married in a secret ceremony. They have a very, very small service. On September 12th, 1846, they married secretly at Marylebone Church. They did not tell her father, because this was a big no-no. So they didn't tell her dad. And after they got married, she continued to live at home with her father for another week while they got their papers in order, got their affairs in order. And at the end of this week, Robert comes to the house and he picks her up, and she tells her father, we're married. I'm moving to Italy. I love you, but I'm going to live my life. I'm going to be my own person, and there's nothing you can do to stop me anymore. And this infuriates her father. Imaginably so, right? He is completely and totally just like, he loses his mind. And how dare she disobey me, right? I think it was a control thing too. Possibly. He loses his mind and actually is so upset that she disobeyed him that he refuses to speak to her ever again. For the rest of her life, for the rest of his life, she continued to send him letters. She tried to speak to him. It was futile. He didn't want anything to do with her. He couldn't overlook the fact that she disobeyed him. So, sadly, lost out on the rest of his daughter's life and that of his grandchildren. And of course, he's the head of the family. He's the head of the household. So her mother has to, unfortunately, kind of follow along and follow his lead. But thankfully, the rest of her family kind of snap out of it. And over time, she is able to build up a relationship, build back that relationship with her, most of her family members. So they're married. They are now husband and wife, and they are off to start this grand adventure. They're off to start their new life in Italy and just kind of explore what it's like to be grown people living their own lives for the first time. So they moved to Italy. They moved to Pisa, Leaning Tower of Pisa, gorgeous city. So they moved to Pisa, Italy, and they start their life together. After living in Pisa for a little while, they enjoyed their life there, but they kind of have wanderlust now. Now they're just looking for experiences. They just want to, and this is the first time that Elizabeth has left home. So she's just craving experiences. She just wants to go and see the world. And Robert helps her do that. So after they've lived in Pisa for a little bit, they moved to Florence. And They lived at Casa. Oh my goodness, I want to say this, but I know I'm going to butcher it. But it's Casa, Guidi, Casa. I'm not even going to say it. And lo and behold, they move to Florence, they move to Italy, and her health gets exponentially better. She starts being able to breathe better, and she has more energy, and she is just vibrant and full of life, and she is truly enjoying her life for the first time ever. And because all of this happiness, right? She is the happiest she's ever been in her life. And because of this, all of these emotions, right? These emotions start to surface in her, and she begins to write. She writes and she writes and she writes and she writes love poems, and she writes sonnets, and she writes incessantly. And during this time, both her and Robert write some of their most respected work. They composed some of their most well-respected works. Very shortly after they moved to Florence, their son was born. Their son, Robert, was born in Florence in 1949. And they were both just completely and totally inspired by Italy. Who wouldn't be? I have never been outside of the continental United States. I would love to, at some point, be able to go experience and explore the world. But I can only imagine how amazing it must have been to be newlywed and to be freshly in love in a city so beautiful. And not only that, but be a creative person at heart, and just to be able to experience that in such a way. It just must have been a really beautiful time for both of them in their lives. Beth wrote, like I said, a significant amount of poetry during this period. Her most famous works, like I said, sonnets from the Portuguese, they were written in the first few years of her marriage to Robert. And she just was so inspired that the writing just came easy to her at this point. Unfortunately, maybe not unfortunately, because I don't think he was ever upset about it. Robert was not writing a ton during this time. I think at this point he is just enjoying life, right? It's not so much about work. I don't think that they had money problems or anything like that. I think he was just enjoying his life. During this time, he did a lot of gardening, and he did a lot of sculpting, and he what does it say? Okay, he sketched and sculpted, and he made clay models. He just kind of did whatever his little heart desired. She wrote furiously, and actually during this time, she wrote one of my favorite poets ever in all of existence. I'm gonna read it to you in just a second. But they just enjoyed life together at this time. They just were enjoying being in a beautiful city during a beautiful period of their lives. They're enjoying being new parents as well, because like I said, their son was born during this period. They're just enjoying life like any young people would be. But sadly, sorry, I can't talk and cut my crease at the same time. But sadly, this would not last for forever. They spent many, many happy years together, but Beth became ill in the summer of 1861. So, they did get to enjoy a good long while of being together and being happy and healthy. But like I said, Beth was never a incredibly healthy person to begin with. And as much as the Italian air really did help her constitution and help her to get a little bit better. She actually, I'm trying to tell you guys the truth, so I'm not just trying to sit here and make things up. Passed away spent many years together. Beth became ill in the summer of 1861 and passed away in Robert's arms in June, on June 29th, 1861. The last words she ever said were beautiful, and I think this is, it's sad, but it's beautiful as well, because I feel like she was in the arms of the person she loved most in the entire world. She got to experience a life full of freedom and love and laughter and kindness, right? And I really don't think that she was upset about leaving. She said that Robert said that the last words on her lips before she passed were beautiful. And I think that that beautiful could have meant so many different things. It could have meant that where she was going was beautiful. It could have meant that the life that she had was beautiful. It could have meant that she was thankful for all of the beauty that she got to witness during her life. There are so many wonderful, wonderful moments that she was able to share with both Robert and her son. I just think, even though it's sad that she had to leave, I am so happy that she was able to leave surrounded by beauty, right? That's all most of us can ask for. It's all any of us can ask for, just to be surrounded with beauty and to go in as painlessly away as possible. And that's what she did. Robert stayed in Italy for a little while after she passed, but I don't think he could handle being in Italy without her. And fairly shortly after she passed, he packed up their son and moved back to London. Now, Robert never got over her death. He never fully accepted that she was gone. And as a last tribute to her, he prepared her last works to be published. And I think partially he dove into that to try to keep himself to kind of hide from the pain, and to kind of like deal with his grief in a way. It was kind of like his last goodbye to her. My husband's trying to call me, so I have to finish this up. So again, he helped prepare her last works for being published, and then took their son back to London. And that's where he stayed. He never really got over her death. But I do think he tried to cope with it the best way that he possibly could. And he continued to return to Italy. Bubba! He continued to travel back and forth to Italy throughout his lifetime. And I think he just was trying to... That's how he got close to his wife. I think that was how he stayed connected with her, was Italy. Italy was what they shared. Italy was their special place. And throughout the rest of his life, he continued to travel back to Italy and spend as much time there as he could, until he actually passed away. He was actually in Italy, which I thought was so beautiful and kind of poetic in a way. He was on a trip to Italy where he actually caught a cold and passed away due to complications from that cold. But the man, he went back to Italy, he went back to London and lived in London. And then the Lord waited until he went to visit Italy that last time and took him home. So he was able to die in the same place that his love had died years before. And I thought that was something incredibly, incredibly beautiful. So I'm going to read you this poem. It is my favorite poem, written by Elizabeth, and then our video will be over. But I really want you guys to let me know in the comments below if you've ever heard this poem before. I think that you probably have. It's a pretty well-known poem. And it goes, "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the ends of being and ideal grace, I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need. By sun and candlelight, I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death." It is so beautiful. It is such a beautiful, beautiful story. They were beautiful people. They were beautiful, beautiful souls. I think their love story is definitely one for the ages. Incredibly romantic and sweet and pure. I think it's love in some of its most pure form. I love this love story. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you guys like today's couple? I love them so much. Let me know, is there somebody you guys would like me to talk about in the near future? I am always open to suggestions. I didn't get to finish my eye, but we pretty much got the gist of it. I will, of course, post everything that I'm using in the description box below. I also have a TikTok on this eye look coming very shortly. So if you guys have any questions, all you have to do is send me a comment and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. As always, no filters, no edits, no fancy lighting. It's just me sitting in front of my camera, playing with some makeup, telling you guys an amazing, beautiful, kind of sad love story. Hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, my beautiful, amazing lovelies, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.